broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 264 of Gun Guy Radio. I'm your host, Jake, and we have co-host Zach on the line. We talk about guns, prepping, homesteading, cars, trucks, and so much more. Everything a gun guy is into. This episode is brought to you by Patriot Patch Company. Hey, Zach, how's it going?
Good, dude. Do people still say on the line?
It's the radio, so of course.
It makes us feel really old. Like when you start seeing these references to things that like people don't understand. Like I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about one of the hosts' kid was really into the Walkman because it was on Stranger Things or something. I didn't watch the latest season, but yeah. It's just like, man, I remember when those were like, that's all we could have.
Or when your phone had a cord on it. Mm-hmm. And some people had cords that you could walk all the length of your house. They were so long.
Yeah, but then they would like coil up inside the coils and like they would twist the coil. Oh, those things are horrible.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you remember, we had a caller ID when caller ID first came out as like a separate box that you had to run in line to your phone. Like you didn't have it built into the phone. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, back when we had the M1 Garand as our home defense gun.
And Snickers were a nickel.
And Coke was in cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. The good old days.
You want to talk guns first or cars first?
Let's do cars first to get it out of the way. Because,
all right.
Speaking of the good old days, back when you could buy a car for a reasonable price.
For a nickel?
I mean, up until I was like 25, I think I didn't pay more than like $500 for a car.
No, yeah, like when we were in high school or even after high school, you could buy like a really nice truck for like $800, $1,000, like nice, like real nice. Like you could drive it anywhere, reliable.
Yeah, those were the good old days. Now, today, woof. So I think was the last episode we talked about Suburbans or was it the one before?
There's been a few. I know you've been looking for a Suburban or Yukon for your third vehicle for your gun truck or beater.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of money saved up for one, and I had all my Craigslist alerts, auto emailing me as soon as they show up. And, I really did want a 3/4 ton if I could help it, but I was opening my eyes open to other models as well. And so I had Craigslist alerts, Facebook Marketplace. There's a lot of vehicles and they're nice. You made a good point. I think you said it before was like Facebook's nice because they're like instantly there. Like it's connected to the person's messenger. So you could be like, you could pre-haggle ahead of time almost instantaneously, without having to talk to anybody. Craigslist, I've tried emailing Craigslist people because it boggles my mind that somebody puts a car up for sale on Craigslist and does not put a phone number in there. Yeah. You look in the description, you don't see anything, you hit the little reply to button and all you get is an email link. I emailed the first weekend that I was really hot and heavy on it. I emailed probably 3 people and nobody ever got back to me. One guy called me weeks later and said, "Oh, it was in my spam folder." It's like, well, I'm already over it, it's just ridiculous. So, yeah. So I've had all those and I've had all these looking and there's a lot of beat up ones and not a lot of 3/4 tons for one, which wasn't a deal breaker, but there's just nothing coming up. And then ones that look halfway decent, they're really expensive. Like for a for like a 2002 or 3, you're looking at sometimes over 10 grand. I sent you one link to a perfect one. It was a big block, everything. They wanted $22,000 for this 20-year-old vehicle. I could not believe it. I mean, it was perfect. I mean, it looked like it had just been sitting in a garage for its life and never been used. But no matter what, it's still a 20-year-old GM product. So all the plastic is probably just like first time you try to touch anything, it's just going to snap under your fingers and turn to dust and whatever. So I was just like, all right, well, that doesn't make any sense. But, I've been on the hunt for quite a while, and the 03 that I sent you, it was looked clean. It was a Yukon XL, looked nice, 240,000 miles on it. He wanted $7,000. And I thought, well, that's a little high, but it looks clean. So let me explore this one, and contacted the guy, and talked a little bit and did the standard dance. And he finally got to the point of sending me the RPO codes in the glove box, and the serial number was on, or the VIN number was on that, glove box door as well. So I went to go do a Carfax on it, and Carfax gave me the warning that I had already run this Carfax. And I kind of did a double take, like, what? And so I looked. Sure as heck, it was the same exact 03 that I looked back at June. This is the one that I think we talked about on the show, where it was 4 daughters had taken this thing to college, and, that had terrible tires on it, where it needed new struts or shocks. And
it's the worst when it's like a college kid vehicle. When it's a kid vehicle, the Suburban that I left in Illinois because it died right before we moved, that was one of those, or it was a parent's vehicle and it was a kid vehicle, and it had little dents in like every corner, every side of it, and like the carpet in that was so bad. I even had it detailed, and they couldn't get it unmatted. Like it just, I don't know what was in it, but it yeah.
Ooh, that's gross. Yeah. And so this one was kind of like that. And they made no attempt of cleaning this vehicle, like to show somebody to buy it. And when I looked at it originally, they wanted, $4,900, but I'd kind of talked to him and I said, this needs a lot of work and needed $1,000 in struts or shocks and $1,000 in tires alone. Yeah. And they said, well, how about $3,500? And I hemmed and hawed about it, and it looked too worn down at that point. So this guy took that car. He probably even paid $3,500 or less than $3,500 for it, because it was, I looked at it in the end of June, and he said he just bought it in the beginning of August or whatever. So he says he fixed everything, but what are the odds of that? Because it needed engine seals. Like, it was leaking like a pig, a stuck pig on the front axle and the front engine and everything. So, I didn't even go look at it at that point. So I've been fairly, disenfranchised with buying a vehicle on there, and then I get a message that you were going to look at one, and then the next couple of days, my buddy Dan's like, oh yeah, I bought a Yukon XL, and I'm like, for what? Like, he doesn't, he's got a bunch of cars, and he was buying it for just the drivetrain, because it had a 6-liter and a whatever 4L65 or whatever, and I was just like, really? And I probably would have bought that one the way he did it, because I was actually driving home from Spokane when he told me about it. And I'm like, well, where is it? And he said it was parked at this local grocery store. So I went I beat him to it because he had already paid and everything. So just sitting there waiting for him to pick it back up. And I looked at it, and like the description was, needs work or whatever. But it looked great. Like, it didn't have any clear coat peel. It didn't really have any of that much body damage at all. Like, it looked clean. I think it was an 02 Yukon XL Denali. So it had the fancier wheels and stuff. The wheels were chewed up a little bit, but man, he paid they wanted $1,400 for it. And I'm like, I didn't even show up in my searches because I figured anything under 2,000 would just be junk. So I set my search history or my search criteria for $2,000. And I was like, damn, I should have bought that, but yeah. He bought it. He got it home.
You said for like $1,000.
Yeah, he offered the guy, I guess, $1,000, and the guy took it.
Crazy.
So and it's like, I don't know how many miles are on it. It's probably 200,000, but it didn't look bad at all for $2,000.
No, it looked really good. I'm really jealous. Like what you're calling bad looking vehicles out your way is like pristine looking vehicles here.
Well, yeah, you guys have rust, and that's the problem with buying cars for you. No,
we have body rot. We have body deletion. There's missing quarter panels. There's so much rust here.
Oh man. So yeah. So I'm going to cool off a little bit, because after I was frustrated with that one guy flipping it, I Googled around. I was reading articles all night, I'm not sleeping and sitting in bed Googling everything, cause then I was like, well, screw it. I'll just buy a new car. What are new cars out there? Like, I wanted a new Accord. So I was like, all right, well, what does the inventory look like on Accords? There's not a goddamn freaking Accord Touring. I put in on Honda's website, you see which ones are in inventory. There was nothing in our area, which is Spokane area. I put in Seattle zip codes. I put in Los Angeles zip codes, thinking there's got to be a car somewhere. There's no freaking cars. And they had like a couple of the lower models or whatever, but it's like, you want the touring. And so I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. I can't even buy a new one. And so I Googled it more and more, and they keep saying, I read fairly recent articles that said that end of this year, beginning of next year, the new car supply should stabilize, which then drive down the used car prices back to normal levels. Because it was super frustrating too. When I thought I was going to go look at that car before I got the VIN number, I was like YouTube searching, like, what are the things I should be looking for on a Suburban? You know, there is good videos out there where they go through everything. There's even like a website that has a checklist specifically for that era Suburban, like all the little things you need to check because it goes bad. That's cool. Yeah. But then there was like videos saying, like from like a year ago, not that long ago, in the pandemic, that said like, I bought this 3/4 ton for Suburban for $3,000, and I was like, where are those vehicles now? Like those are just gone. I mean, it's just. I thought the $5 gas would make people sell them. Well, I thought all this stuff, and it's just not. So I think people are holding on to them. And then when new cars come back available, they'll probably either trade them in or sell them and get new cars.
Your buddy proved that there are good deals out there. So there are still good deals out there. It's just that they go really fast if you're not on top of it or if you don't see it. And the other problem, which you also encountered, is there's a million people buying these and flipping them, trying to make a buck. And, you know, my parents, they bought, I think it was about a year ago or so, they had to buy a new pickup truck because they use the pickup truck to plow their driveway and stuff. And my dad's truck basically rusted in half, and I promptly bought it from him.
Wait, did you ever bring that? Did you brought that home?
Yeah, it's back. It's out back here. Yeah, so I got a spare LS drivetrain. It's got like a brand new transmission in it and stuff too. So, the body frame, everything's junk, but the drivetrain's good. Even the rims on that, I was looking at the rims, and they're just like no aluminum left. It's just all salt eaten.
Oh, like the clear coat's gone and it's pitting all the aluminum?
It's just like extremely bad.
What year is it?
99 Silverado.
Oh, gotcha.
Anyway, so they were looking, and they ran into the exact same problem where like every single car on Marketplace or Craigslist was not in the guy's name because he was flipping it. Like every single one of them. And they went through a bunch of them, and then they bought one from a dealer that looked great, but then they took it in for service, and the frame on that was rusted in half too. And so they took it back, and that dealer did them good and actually gave them their cash back and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so it's just such a difficult time to buy, and it has been for like 2 years now, and people are desperate. They'll pay crazy money too.
Well, that's the problem is you start talking yourself into that this is right or normal. Like I started doing that. I started like self-justifying it. Like, well, it probably is worth this because this would, and then you're like, wait. No, this is crazy. This is an old ass car that was made It's not a rare car by any means. Like they made a bunch of Suburbans.
Especially that generation. So we're talking 2000 to 2006 generation of Suburban Yukons. That is the most they ever made of the Suburban Yukon was those years.
Yeah, because it was pre-recession, right? 2008 is
right before the bubble, the bubble and everything, and when gas was kind of still somewhat cheap because gas shot up there in like I don't know 06, 07, 08, somewhere in there, and. So yeah, it's the last of the big blocks, the last of the mass production of, because if you look at the production numbers, they just crater at the bubble there. They just crater, and they're coming back up now, I think. But I mean, that's the other reason I'm frustrated with prices on those is because I know of millions of those were made. Maybe people are holding on to them, and we'll see when the car market gets better here that people are start to let go of them, and you'll see better ones and cheaper ones come on the market.
The one thing that kind of worries me is I wonder, are only people that have had them pre-pandemic going to sell them? Or because, if you bought one this last 2 years and paid exorbitant amount of money for it, are you going to be that quick to be willing to let go? To go negative on it, because like you've got all this money tied up. And that's one thing is like, if I buy it now and 2 years from now, I'm like, oh man, this car is not for me. What are the odds I'm going to get my money back out of it?
Well, there was this kid selling this Yukon here that I did the Carfax on it. I could tell he had just bought it like 2 months ago or something, and now he's going to college and needs the money and stuff.
Okay.
And it also has issues, but he was asking, it's pretty low mileage and body's okay on it, but it has some things that need fixed. And he was asking, like, I don't know, $7-8 for it. And I'm like, I got to be more like at $5,000. And I told him all the reasons. I even sent him a screenshot of the Carfax and stuff. There were some issues on there. I told him I got to be like, closer to this number. And I realized you just bought this from a dealer and you probably paid a lot for it. And you probably want to get what you got in it. But I'm like, you're not going to get it. And like since then, I see he's lowered the price to almost to what I offered him.
But now you've already bought one, right?
But now I already bought one. Wow, and that has a 6-liter and stuff. And the more I looked at the 6 liters, the more I realized your average fuel economy, even if you've got a lot of highway miles, is probably more like 12 to 13. And like with our Yukon, we're used to getting about 15 average for us. And I really didn't want to go below that for fuel economy. Cause it was going to be our main vehicle, vacation vehicle, go anywhere vehicle. So I kind of ruled out 6 liters for that reason, even though for whatever reason, like that one and a few other lower mileage ones came on the market recently. So anyways, I guess should I jump into my purchase here?
Yeah. So you just kicked me while I was down and I was like, hey, look at this one. You're like, well, just ironically, I'm going to buy one too.
Yeah. Like you said, our market has lots of rust, and so it's hard to find one that's very decent. I was lucky. The Yukon I bought when we moved here was basically rust free, and now it's got rust coming through. 3.5 years later, it is what it is. And so I found a Suburban with only 140,000 miles on it, which is actually really low mileage if you're looking at this generation of Suburban.
What year is it?
2002.
So that's 20 years old. So what'd you say, 142,000? That's only 14,000 miles a year, right?
Well, it's actually 140,000 some odd miles, but yeah.
No, that's 7,000 miles a year. What am I talking about? No, that's, So 140,000 divided by 20 years old, 7,000 miles a year. Who drives only 7,000 miles a year?
This was one that came up, and some vehicles listed on Facebook Marketplace don't search well and don't show up well in the category. Facebook will just kind of guess what you're looking for and throw things up in your main marketplace feed or your main vehicle feed. But if you go to search for those or go into the category and try to find them that way, you won't find them for whatever reason. And this was one of those where it was harder to find. I can partly tell that too because it shows you how many other people saved this listing.
Yeah.
And people weren't saving this listing like other listings similar to it. So I kind of lucked out just finding it.
How did you find it? Did you do a search or did you just show up your main feed?
It just showed up and I happened to click on it. And then it was one where it wouldn't show up if I went into the category and dove down into the filters and stuff.
They have a lot of filters, but why do they not have just email me when a new listing pops up? Like that drives me mad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so this popped up, and at first it was kind of fishy because it was like, I asked the guy some questions. I tried to negotiate, and they're asking $8,200 for it. And I said that's way too much, and they said they go down to $7,000 for it.
That's a pretty big jump right off the bat.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it's still kind of too much. And like, I had more questions, and then the guy was like, well, actually, I'm listing this for a friend. And
ooh, I hate those.
There's so many of those too. Like, they're listing it for some old person that doesn't use technology whatsoever. And so, but this wasn't the case. It was a young kid that must not be on Facebook, like a 25, 26-year-old kid is actually the owner of this. Long story short, I kept pursuing it, and it turns out it's essentially a one owner because this kid bought it from his dad, who bought it brand new. I ran the Carfax on it and everything, and this kid's only had it like, I don't know, a year and a half or something. So he bought it from mom and dad, didn't really drive it at all. He's got like 2 other trucks and stuff. Seemed really good from what I talked to him on the phone, and the additional, I asked him to send me pictures of the worst stuff on it and everything, and he did that. wasn't any deal breakers there. And I go look at it. His dad was actually there too. Kid had just bought like this house in town. Dad was helping fix it up. And so I think he was selling this to get money for that. But it checked out. I test drove it and everything. And it was his mom's vehicle. It was essentially their third vehicle for going to baseball games and stuff when he was a kid. And you know, he's not like the typical 25, 26-year-old kid either. You could tell he was pretty straight-laced and had his stuff together. And he didn't beat on it, romp on it. It still seemed like it was his mom's vehicle. It still had like ugly carpet, savers in it and stuff. It really didn't seem like he drove it at all. I finally got him down to 6,500, which is still a lot, but in this market, you know, it is what it is. It's
not terrible for the mileage.
No, it's pretty good.
A lot of them you see in the upper 100,000s or mid 200,000s.
Yeah, and it's got a little bit of rust behind the back tires, a little bit starting on the rockers, just in small spots. But the interior is nice and clean. The seats are nice, not all ripped up. You know, it's never been smoked in. It doesn't seem like it's ever had pets in it. It hasn't been molested. It's got stock radio, everything. You know, nothing's, you know, in the engine, on the dashboard, nothing's been messed with. So that's a big plus too.
Yeah, that's for sure. I'm almost tempted, like when you see one that still has a stock radio and it's like, can I take the dash out real quick to pull it out and make sure they didn't hack the plug back there? But, you know, like, did they just butcher the wiring? But, you know, because a lot of people could put the factory one back in before they sell it.
I don't know. I'm really glad we found it. That's going to become the main family vehicle and everything, kid hauler, vacation vehicle. I had to put 4 new tires on it, which, you know, you figure buying any used vehicle, you might have to do that.
How much tires run you on that thing?
So I found some on Amazon for like $156 a tire, which is pretty good.
And you just had a local shop put them on for you?
And when I test drove it, I could tell right away it needed alignment. And so after I bought it, I got under it and I pulled on the tie rod ends. I pulled on the tires, with it jacked up, trying to figure out if the ball joints are loose and stuff, and check the pitman arm and idler arm, and I greased all those. And when I greased all those, grease came out right away, so I could tell this thing was always serviced. And that was my impression too, was it was always kept in service. It was always greased. And brakes are all good on it. Check those. And really, it's super clean underneath. You could tell, and he told me they always kept it inside, and he always kept it inside. And they drove it in the winter, and that's why it's got a little bit of rust on it. But, you know, me sliding under it on my back, it's super clean. Frame's clean, fuel lines are clean, brake lines are clean. You can really see why a lot of these rust out so bad, because GM did a crappy job of painting the other underside of these bodies. It's basically only primer on the underside of these. And there should be paint, there should be undercoating, but there's not. So that's really, you know, not surprising why you see so many rusted out.
So are you going to try to undercoat it or something yourself just to prevent it from rotting away, or just rolling the dice?
I'm probably going to roll the dice, because the rocker, you know, back of the rockers and back of the lower quarter panels are already starting to go. So maybe I'll get motivated at some point and cut into those. I don't know.
So you didn't say, did you just have a local shop put your tires on for you?
So the place I took it to have it aligned is a tire shop, and so I had them mount and balance it, and it came out good. And when I test drove it, it had a vibration too when you got between like 50 and higher. And so I'm like, well, that could be the tires, that could be the alignment, that could be, you know, a broken part or something. And turns out it was just, maybe it was a combination of alignment and tires, but that took care of it. Drives fine now. And
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I just have to replace the driver's side mirror, like turned bronze. So it's an heated and auto dimming mirror, which turns out is really hard to find. It's like a 2-year only option. And so I had to order a junkyard part one. I tried to take the one off my dad's truck, it was only heated, not dimming. But that wouldn't fit. Ended up breaking that trying to mount it. And then a Dorman one wouldn't work either. So hopefully this junkyard one works good. And then I think it's good to go for the wife to drive and everything.
Well, the reason I asked you about tires is because after I was like disheartened about cars, I was like, man, I'm gonna get tires on my car. Just again, I've already replaced them once, but I'm at like 142,000 miles, and I got to drive to Colorado. So that class we talked about. So I was like, I'm just gonna get tires now. So I ordered tires, and I was like, I don't know if I just haven't bought tires in a long time or what, but I was like, 4 Michelins. I wanted Michelins. I wanted nicer tires this time around, and it was like a little over $1,000. I'm getting them installed tomorrow. Actually, I had to order them, but
well, especially name brand like that, like Michelin. I mean, you're paying a lot. You're paying a lot. The ones I got are made in like, I don't know, Philippines, Taiwan. I don't know, some foreign country. But
well, that's what we have. Les Schwab is a regional chain up here, and their tires, they don't sell like name brand tires anymore. And the tires that I got, they're called Confidence, and it's like, and I finally Googled it, like, who the hell makes Confidence? And, apparently is it Sumihoto or whatever that brand is, Sumihoto, something like that.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, god dang it, you're right. But they weren't bad, but man, like any kind of grooved pavement, they grab the grooves and just, it feels like you're on a bias ply. And it's this is BS. So I wanted, and my gas mileage went down when I bought those tires.
Really?
Like they weren't the low energy rolling resistance tires, So yeah. I bought the Michelin Energy Saver AS or whatever. They were like decent qualities. I was like, I'm not going to Les Schwab again, so I need to get that in alignment, and then I'll be good to go.
Well, Michelins are great, and in my experience, they have the longest tread life. Like all these stupid tires have tread life warranty. They all lie, but I think like the Michelins really do have good wear life to them.
Yeah, I think these have pretty good life. And then also, since we switched to snow tires in the winter, I'm only using them for, half the year, a little more than half the year. So right. I'm going to, I just need to be better about writing down the mileage when I swap tires back and forth, because I don't right now. And I have to do it in my head, which isn't ideal. So, I figured if I need to keep this car for like 2 more years, if in case it doesn't come back around next year, I wanted to just kind of take care of it and have good tires on it.
So Amazon sent me 2 extra tires.
Oh my God! What do you always get these things happening with you?
I don't know.
You steal from Amazon more than Jeff Bezos. Jeez.
So I don't know what's going on. I really don't. Because I thought I had ordered 5 because I was gonna put one on the spare. The spare wasn't terrible, but so the Yukon, we had a puncture, a really bad puncture. Like a really big sharp rock punctured right up through the tread wall, or the bottom, where the tread is, not the sidewall. Anyways, so they patched it, but when they patched it, they said, well, you should probably replace that tire because it's such a big puncture. It's gonna like make the tire wear uneven because of it and stuff, and then you're gonna have problems because of that. And so, these tires are worn. I didn't realize it, but they're worn halfway down. So I purchased an identical one to what was on that, had it mounted, and then after I got back, I was comparing the tread wear. I'm like, dang, these things are already worn halfway down. And
this is on your old one, right?
This is on the Yukon, the old one, yeah. So my idea now is that when I do the tires, if I do the spare too, then I'll have an identical one to what's on there, and in case those are sold out or something, I'll have the 5th one to rotate in if I get a catastrophic failure. Because if you get a puncture in the sidewall or something, it's donezo too. So,
yep. I actually had to do that with my car too, with the Confidence, because I had a tire. Actually, my air pressure went off, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel bad, but then I ran just a little too long on it, and it had destroyed the sidewalls. So I had to put a new tire on there. So I got too good a tire for the car, but whatever. You said the new one is a Suburban or a Yukon?
Yeah, the new one's a Suburban.
Okay. So are you keeping the old one, or what are you gonna do with the old one? Yeah,
so we're keeping the old one. The old one will be my daily driver, Because really, out of all the vehicles we have, nothing rides as nice as a Yukon Suburban. They ride great, especially the Yukon. The Yukon's a little better equipped, but it is what it is. A Suburban. Glad we found it. It's got low mileage on it. Doesn't have as many options, but it's not bare bones either. So,
well, how can it not have that many options if it has auto dimming mirrors and all that stuff?
It's kind of weirdly equipped. It's got that. And it's got heated seats. It's got memory seats, or at least driver memory seat.
What are you missing compared to the Yukon?
Well, like the Yukon had the Bose system. This doesn't.
Does it have sunroof?
Neither one has a sunroof. Man, a lot of them on the market has a sunroof. The last one I had that we left in Illinois had a sunroof. I don't know. There's just some little things that are different. Way better rims on the Yukon. The Suburban's got the real stock,
like the half swept back bladed ones, those style.
Wow, they've got like the plastic center caps that have the fake plastic lug nuts on them, and
So you sent me a picture of it. I'm trying to remember. Well, the other thing that really is annoying when your Suburban's not too bad, but when you try to find a Yukon, the Facebook algorithm shows you a bunch of Yukons, not Yukon XL. Or if you type in Yukon XL, you get Yukons.
Yeah.
And these are the rims I'm thinking of. They're like the standard model Suburban rims for that year. It's like a 5-spoke, kind of little bit of sweep to them.
Right. And those are, so the Suburban has 16s and the Yukon has the nicer looking 17s, which is what it is. I kind of prefer they'd have the same, but whatever. I could always switch that later. I just feel like I got so much money. I was looking at rims a little bit, but I feel like I got so much money out with the purchase and tires right now. I'm not going to really do anything else. Anyways, I think we need to get into guns here.
Well, so as we were talking about, just being frustrated with the car purchases and everything, I said I'm going to wait for a while, and I took some of the money that I was saving. And I bought a night vision. I got a PVS 14 white phosphorus.
Wow.
I just bought a helmet. It was not here yet. And a mount and everything. But yeah, I literally just got it today. UPS, it was supposed to be here Monday. And then I was like, okay, that's fine. And then it said this morning, out for delivery today. And it's adult signature required. Well, I get a notification, your thing was delivered, as I'm sitting in my office, and I'm like, what? And I'm like checking, trying to see the camera to see if my wife got home early or something. I'm texting her like, did you sign for this? And she's like, no, I'm at work. So I had to call my neighbor real quick just to go grab it off my porch, because I don't want to let this much money sit there on the front porch. But I just literally opened it minutes ago, and it feels awesome. It's so much better than the one that I had before. So yeah, I'm back into the night vision. And
now that perfect Yukon will show up, and
I know, that's what I said. I told my wife Ashley that as soon as I ordered, I was like, what's going to happen is as soon as I did this, now there's going to be just a beautiful one that I won't have any money for.
Yep.
Yep. I did think that too. So what's going on with guns with you?
Maybe if I sell some of my crap boxes, I could afford stuff like that. I don't know.
You could.
We talked about me buying the Sig Sauer P365XL last time, and I was going to pick it up. So I did pick it up, I think the next day, drove up there, and, it's funny because I released that episode just like this week, and Mark Hookham emailed, and he was one of the guys that let me shoot one of these before I bought it. He said, I'm so glad you didn't buy the one with that crappy optic on it. Cause he's like, he had it or like people he taught, maybe both had so many problems with those and stuff. And I think he switched to the Shield optic. He's been happy with that. Anyways. So I was like, well, funny enough, Mark, I actually did buy it because I was checking out and I was looking in the case, and they had the Sig Romeo Zero in the case there. They had it clearance down to like $140 or something, and like Brownells had it for $180 or something. I'm like, that's not too bad. And then he goes to look for it, and he's like, well, that's the last one. That's the display. I'm like, can you knock a little bit off? And he was going to do like another 10% off. And then I'm like, can you make sure you got the box and the screws and everything? And he looked all over. He couldn't find the box and screws. So I'm like, well, that's stupid. And I'm like, how much more can you knock off? And so they ended up knocking it down to like $100 or something.
Jeez.
Which is, I don't know, I guess pretty decent. But
well, you could sell some of your free tires that you got to offset your costs.
Right. Well, I gotta still figure out the tire thing. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, too bad Amazon doesn't sell guns. You could end up with some free guns. Anyways, so I get home and try to figure out this optic mounting situation, and so I'm going to have to email SIG or something to get the screws that weren't in the box, because you take the rear plate on this 365 has the rear sight on it, and you got to take the slide off and flip it upside down. There's 2 screws that you undo to take this plate off so you can put an optic on it. Well, the optic must have like some kind of nuts or something that go in it, or nuts that go on the bottom side then, because you can't use the same screws because there's nothing to screw it into. The optic has bigger holes in it.
I thought you just do it regular. I'm pretty sure there's screws from the top, but it's not the same screws probably.
Well, maybe that's the case. So these would be way too long.
Yeah, we have one at work. I can look.
Well, they're not wide enough either. So, well, maybe after the show you can help me figure that out. So, I've got to find the right size battery for it too.
It's a weird one. It's not a 2032. I know that because ours died and I had to go get one. And thankfully we had one in the machine shop for something else, and I was able to snag it.
Well, it looks like my Walmart has them, but yeah, I dug through my batteries and realized it was a weird one because I've got the common ones. Anyways, so let's talk about the 6 hour P365 troubles, I guess. So I take it out.
SIG, it's perfect, right?
Yeah, it's perfect as Glock, I guess. You don't have to do anything. You know, I don't know why companies like Lone Wolf exist. You don't have to add stuff to it. Anyway, so I take it out. One thing I notice pretty immediately is that the mags don't drop out nice, like at all.
Really?
Not at all. The mags stick in them. And
I did not notice that on ours. That's interesting.
Annoys the hell out of me because every handgun I've used recently or carried, the mags always drop free. And I really don't want to have to change my routine and start ripping out mags. And so I take some sandpaper, as any person would do, and start sanding the inside of the mag well. Because you know, looking at it, the one side of the inside of the mag well was definitely rougher than the other side.
Just like the whole, like the length of the magazine well, or just at the edge?
Yeah, the whole length of the inside is definitely cast rougher than the other.
Oh, that's weird.
So yeah, so I sand it out, and I pretty much get mags to drop free then doing that. But I had to sand a bit on the inside.
Somebody required.
And I may have used a Dremel a little bit on the inside.
Oh, you bubbled it. I did see, I'm looking at the manual for the optic installation, and it's 2 screws that go down from the top.
Okay.
They have a thin shaft, and then they have like a thick shoulder before the head. So it's they say 2mm hex drive bit on them, so they're fairly small screws. You probably just got to order those somewhere.
Yeah, Brownhouse doesn't have them. No Primary Arms. I don't know. I have to figure out where I can get those. So I realized, I ordered a couple holsters. I realized that outside the waistband paddle holster is like an idiotic choice because it doesn't stay in place, and you bang into everything in the world with it. So,
which is this what holster was this?
The outside the waistband paddle holster, like the Phobos or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Some of those have a long standoff too, or like a wide standoff.
Right. It's really dumb. It's like your gun is way out away from you, and you're just banging it on everything. And the other thing with the Phobos was I had to take the Dremel to that too, because they don't make one for the XL. And you gotta kind of carve out the end of it
because they taper on the muzzle end. Right. Yeah. Well, at least he didn't like take it. I've tried that before with a heat gun and like softening it up and then pushing the gun in there.
Yeah.
And it never goes straight after that. It's not ideal, but,
so like,
yeah.
I'm already into this, like 2 Bubba moves later. I'm into this. I feel like a complete jack, what? So I shoot it though, and it shoots good and takes a little getting used to the trigger. It's a way longer trigger pull than the XDS, and it's different. Not
it breaks
bad.
at 90. It breaks at 90. It's like almost forward 45 degrees, and then it breaks when it's basically vertical.
Yeah, it's just so much more pull, and it's different feel and everything. So that takes some getting used to, but I got to where I'm accurate with it and everything, and ran a bunch of ammo through it, no failures. I got the mags dropping and everything, but the mag release on this thing is just so hard to hit. I don't know if it's just because I got big hands, but I started looking on the internet, and a lot of other people complain about how it's hard to hit as well too. And so I'm trying to figure out if people have extended mag releases for it and stuff. And my first go through, I couldn't find any, but then I realized there are a couple companies that make them. So I've got one on the way to try. But in the meanwhile, I was like, well, there's these other grips because, it's got a chassis system.
That's the whole point of it, right? Yeah.
Right. So I see Wilson Combat makes a grip for it. I'm like, well, Wilson Combat, they don't make junk, right? And so I ordered that. And because one review I saw for it says that the guy had an easier time with the mag release after he switched. Even though it uses a stock SIG mag release, he had an easier time with it. So I'm like, well, I hope that's my case too. And so I get the Wilson in, and it's super easy to switch that chassis out and everything. And installing the mag release is the hardest part. I actually goobered up.
Did it come with it?
It came with one, but I goobered it up because it clicked in wrong. And then
it's got like a 2-piece shell. It's like a clam shell that you have to capture a spring in, if I remember right.
But it got in a little cockeyed and didn't click in like it was supposed to. And then I was trying to get it. It was jammed in there, and I was trying to get it out. And that's such soft plastic. Like, they need to use a harder polymer for that little clip because it just ruined it in 2 seconds. So I'm like, well, there's my third Bubba. And then I was able to take the stock one out of the existing grip. And so I got it all assembled and good to go. And man, talk about cheese grater. This Wilson Combat grip.
Yeah, I do like the Wilson Combat stuff, but I don't love their, like, it almost looks like a starburst. It's like a star, but it's like they started at the center of the star, and then it like fans out. I don't love the look of the stippling on them.
Well, I think it looks pretty cool. It's just such a cheese grater on you. So I don't know. Maybe I'll Dremel down the side that touches the love handles there.
Oh man,
I know. I'm like, I'm going to be sophisticated and I'm going the SIG route. And then the next thing I know, I got this Dremel out and plastics flying, and So
interesting.
The mag release works a little better. I've got an extended one coming, so hopefully that completely solves my mag release issue. And then, I had to figure out, well, what carry ammo am I going to use? Because I ran a bunch of different range ammo through it. All worked great, but I didn't start carrying it yet because I didn't run any carry ammo through it. I want to make sure that functioned. And so I got like some Hornady critical defense, or I don't know, Hornady something. Yeah. And then I got some federal, basically some police federal, I forget what they call it. And I run both of those through it. The Hornady is a plus P plus or something, so it's pretty hot. And the Federal is kind of more of a regular load. They're both heavier bullets than the range ammo. I don't have them in front of me. I figure what they are. But they all ran good. They all, so I can carry either of those carry ammos. The plus P stuff was definitely hotter. You could tell that. Actually carrying the Federal right now because it's a bit cheaper, and it ran fine. Didn't break out the gel tests or anything. So,
well, have you noticed my experience in the 365 XL? and then immediately shooting a compact and a full size 320. This is just with standard ammo. I didn't do plus Ps or anything, but it felt like it almost shot like a full size pistol. Like the recoil did not, like when I shoot my G43 X compared to a 19 or a 34, they all feel drastically different in recoil. And the 365 XL to the other ones, they felt very similar, which is good.
Well, I don't feel like it recoils bad at all. I mean, I feel like it's a good shooter. So this is like the main reason I did this. I took and loaded a standard mag and extended mag for the SIG, and the same for the Springfield XDS that is my normal carry. So full loadout. I put them on the scale, and they were within, I forget, plus or minus like 1.6 ounces. I forget which is lighter, but like essentially the same weight, and I have more than double the round count. I've gotten almost like triple the round count, I think.
Wow. Yeah.
Just way more ammo for the same amount of weight, which is great. And it's, I don't know, it seems like you can make it into a good platform. I mean, I was a little disappointed. Like out of the box, I felt like this is not as refined as a Springfield XDS felt.
Well, it's kind of weird though, because your experience with that one, maybe this is just a volume of production kind of issue, because the one that we have at the office, I didn't have any of those problems. Like you hit it and it ejected the magazine. So I don't know.
Yeah. So I've got 4 magazines for it. I had to hunt those down, but like the finish on the magazines is not consistent. Like one of them looks like it looks like a blim. It's not a good weird finish, like rough and like
the coating on the metal, you mean? Or?
Yeah.
Huh. And, interesting. Yeah, it could be.
So I don't know what's going on with SIG, if they're got COVID quality control issues like everyone else, or what's going on.
I'm guessing they just pushing out so much product that they just can't keep tabs on everything. If I had to guess, because man, it seems like they come out with new models, new things all the time. Like I don't know how they push that many new products out all the time. I mean, just knowing how much work it is, it's amazing. You said that the paddle holster was bad because it stood off too far and clanked. Did you try one that just had like regular loops on it that you can belt and run your belt through the outside of the waistband to kind of suck it to your body tight?
Yeah, I might try that. I ordered a taco inside the waistband Kydex, and so just those two is all I ordered so far. And just a real cheap taco one, and I immediately replaced the clip on it because I didn't like it. But it's working. It's working just fine. So it works.
When you say taco, is that Kydex or something else?
Yeah, taco Kydex.
Gotcha. Huh. So you were somewhat let down, but it's looking up.
Yeah, initially I was kind of let down. I mean, it's so much more money. I guess not a lot more, but in my mind it feels like a lot more money than back in the day what the Springfield I bought.
Well, yeah, because Springfield's using Croatian slave labor. Yeah, what do you want? These are U.S. citizens making your 365s.
Right. This is supposed to be better made in the USA, which is really, I mean, made in the USA is not a good thing anymore. I mean, there's so much issues.
Well, it's no guarantee of quality. Let's put it that way. I guess USA made stuff, but it's not a guarantee like you would think.
No, I mean, look at all the auto manufacturers. Like GM hasn't made good vehicles for the last 8 years now or something. Even, I mean,
some would argue longer than that.
Longer than that. I mean, really since the financial crisis, the big automakers and stuff have not been what they used to be, and other companies too. So, anyways, I'll keep updating you on my SIG journey, but I've got to figure out this. Oh, the other thing about the Romeo Zero optic that Mark said, thank God you didn't buy it, and I get what he means. It's a cheap feeling. It feels like a toy. It feels like
it's super light.
It's
all plastic.
Yeah, it feels. I mean, it seriously feels. So I should have looked at it. He just bagged it up at the store. I didn't touch it till I got home, and I wouldn't have bought it if I touched it in the store, because as soon as I touched it at home, I was like, "Is this real? Is this?" I was thinking it was just a fake, like, store display thing.
like those empty TVs that used to be on display.
Right.
Yeah. I think for the price you paid, you cannot complain.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how you fall into these deals all the time, but, you know.
Well, they had some really good deals on other stuff, too. They were clearancing out. I forget what it was. There was like a Vortex something or another that was cheaper than anywhere online. The problem is they actually had the combo SIG 365 with the Romeo Zero there, and it was about, I didn't realize it till after I checked out, but it was about the same price as what I paid for the gun plus the super discounted optic.
Oh, that stinks.
But it's not on their website. Like a lot of guns there aren't on their website, I realized. So I'll just have to kind of go in these stores and figure out what they have. Because I went to Shields after that, and because I was also looking for a 308 bolt action gun. And I think you and I were talking about that, like the Ruger American, is that it?
Yeah, Ruger American, the CVA something was a new one that people like too.
So they had a Ruger American, like dirt cheap, like $399 with an optic on it there, but they were sold out. But there's no way for me to tell that because they don't put any of their gun deals on their website anymore.
Do they put them in flyers or anything, like mailing flyers? They
probably do, but I don't get them. I'll have to manually go to their website and bring them up. So I guess that's the one thing. If you're just looking online for guns and stuff in your local area, you probably want to go into even these big box stores because they're not putting the deals online that they have. So you need to actually get out there and look.
Well, I hope that SIG works out for you because they do feel good in the hands. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
They just like they're svelte and they feel smooth. But yeah, I think I would probably go with the Holosun 507K if it was me. But you pay and wait, I guess.
Yeah. So, another breaking news. I built an AR. I built an AR with a lower I bought probably 8 years ago and never did anything with.
Wow. What is this newfound enthusiasm?
A beautiful Anderson Manufacturing blimmed lower that I think I paid less than $50 for back in the day.
I was saying, is that a Mustang on the side of your gun?
Brownells had a deal on these complete upper receivers. So they're complete, they're assembled, and they've got the really nice Midwest Industries rail that's a lighter rail without the stupid Picatinny across the whole top. It's only got it on the front and the back side. And it was like $379 for the complete upper, which, I mean, isn't super cheap, but it's
better than like PSA. Like,
right.
It should be I would think a step up for them depending on who they use for their parts, I guess.
It just appealed to me being assembled, ready to go. It has a bolt carrier, everything in it. And so I was like, I'm going to build out this lower. I think I have all the parts for the inside of the lower and everything. I think I have everything in my safe. So all I did was order the upper, and then I started assembling it today. I realized, I don't have a grip. I don't have a hand grip. And so I started looking around, and remember that Ruger Charger I bought to deconstruct and then reconstruct into a chassis system?
Yeah.
So that Ruger Charger has Ruger's AR pistol grips on it.
That's funny.
And they're actually not bad. I like they don't have a finger groove. Yeah. And they're not, they're not beautiful or anything, but they're like maybe a Ruger styled Magpul, I'd call it.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels good and everything. I had it lying around. I'm like, well, that's kind of a win.
Looks like you got some iron sights on it.
And I had the iron sights lying around for, probably a decade. And then I realized, I'm like, I don't have a buffer tube. I don't have a stock. And so I deconstructed another AR just to get the buffer tube off of it. But everything else I had lying in my safe. I had a parts kit and trigger, and the trigger came out of something else because it was already assembled with the springs and stuff. Got it together and took it out to shoot. It didn't blow up in my face.
How long did it take to get from Brownells for that? Since you ordered it to when you, like, they said it shipped or when you got it?
Less than a week.
That's not bad. Because when I ordered last time, it felt like it took forever for them to even ship it.
Well, I guess UPS dropped them, so they have an issue for longer range deliveries now.
So what are they using now then?
Well, for me, they use a local speedy delivery service that serves this part of the Midwest, which is okay, but it's pretty quick.
Really? Like a private DHL type company or something?
Yep. Yeah, they've been around forever. They serve the part of Illinois we were in too.
Oh, interesting. I never heard of that.
Yeah, I mean, they're mainly B2B deliveries, but now that places like Brownells and other places are using them, they're doing residential and stuff a lot more.
Interesting. Is it like do they have vans, or is it like the Amazon vehicle sometimes where you see it's like a dude's car?
No, they have a fleet of vans, and they have for years. They've always used like a Ford van or something.
That's crazy. I never heard of that. That's interesting.
I mean, really, Brownells has been great delivering here. I mean, we're relatively close to Brownells. We're like 4 hours away, 4.5 hours away. Something.
They're in Iowa off I-80.
They're in the middle of Iowa, yeah. I shot it, and I started getting light primer strikes. At first, I was like, oh, this is great. This is working great, no problems. And then light primer strike. I'm like, oh, that's a fluke. Light primer strike.
I have a guess of what you did, but I'm going to let you tell your story.
What? No, what's your guess?
I'm going to guess you messed up the spring on the hammer. Did you put it backwards?
Well, if you put it backwards, it doesn't have enough spring tension to fire.
You can put it on wrong. It's got a hoop behind the notch, and then it has to ride up on the trigger spring or the trigger pin, right? But you can mess that up.
Well, and I did mess it up, but I couldn't get it to even dry fire, and so I redid it the right way.
So did you figure it out then?
So here's what I did. I'm like, maybe it's not lubed enough or something. I didn't lube it at all, but it came lubed. I took it back apart. I'm like, oh, there's plenty of lube on this. That's not an issue. And really, like, primer strike probably wouldn't be an issue with lube. So I took it apart, and I've got the other upper there. I'm like, well, I'll just take the bolt carrier out and swap that and take that out of the equation. See if that fixes it. Yeah. I took it out. I did 2 full 30-round mags, not a single problem. Perfect. I'm like, okay. So it's something to do with something in that bolt carrier. So I took it back in, took it apart, put the bolt carrier side by side, looking them over really close. I'm like, what's different than the other, And I'm looking at the firing pins. I'm like, well, the tip of the firing pins are shaped different. The one that came with this Brownells upper is a lot blunter and wider tip of a firing pin than the one that I swapped into it. And then I look at my counter, all my AR parts are out. I'm like, oh, I got another firing pin lying here. You can tell it's a used one. I'm like, I'll just swap that in and see what happens. Just do one thing at a time. Swap that in, perfect. Runs perfect.
Interesting.
So maybe I messed up the spring too, but it works perfect now, so I don't know.
You diagnosed it just like you think you should, right? Like, just work your way down.
I do have some embarrassing things to discuss.
Beyond the Anderson lower or something else?
So I have built ARs before. I even...
In this decade?
No, not in this decade. I even launched a show called the AR-15 podcast on the Firearms Radio Network like a decade ago. I launched a show all about ARs and how to build them. I even had YouTube videos on assembly that had a lot of views at one time. I even made some money off of them at one time.
But you didn't watch your own videos?
I had to pull up videos on how to do it. My mouse pad, right in front of me as I'm speaking, my mouse pad is an AR-15 schematic mouse pad that we sell. And I still had to look up videos.
Yeah. The ones I get confused sometimes when I pull it apart is like which detents are which. Like they look similar, but they're different, and stuff like that. If you don't do it every day.
Well, yeah. I mean, the springs and stuff. Some of the springs are real similar, and like I had no idea. Which way the detents went. Some of them are shaped different on one end than the other, and like if you're not. Things just fall out of my brain. If I haven't done them in the last year or two, I just completely forget how I did them, I guess. Because I felt like it was almost my first time. It was pretty sad.
So what made you buy this one? Is it just because you, like, what changed that you wanted to buy an AR?
To complete this one?
Yeah, why did you, like, what started this project?
Well, I don't know. It was kind of an impulse. I saw Brownells had this completed upper on sale.
Gotcha.
And I knew I had this lower laying around for, years and years. I'm like, it's time. I just need I don't have a plan. I don't have anything. I just want to finish something here.
Well, it looked like a really lightweight rifle, so I thought maybe your son wanted to start shooting an AR or something.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the Smith & Wesson M&P 1522, so my oldest son isn't into shooting. It's the next one coming up, and he's really not ready for the big stuff yet. Mm-hmm. So, if anything, I need to get him out with that Smith & Wesson 22 a little more. He thinks this is cool and all, but it's still a little much, at least for me, to have him doing it right now. I don't know. I don't feel like it's a lightweight. I ordered a buttstock, a buffer tube. I ordered some really gaudy red anodized things for it. It's going to be pretty hideous when I'm done with it.
They call those gaying it up.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be all the pride.
You took a decent rifle and just ruined it.
Well, yeah, it's fun though. It's a fun gun. I really love this rail. I really do. And Arrow had a Blum sale, and I had 308 upper and lower in my cart. I really want to build a 308 at some point, but I was like, no, I'm not going to do it till I finish this one. I'm not going to have two unfinished projects, unlike my cars. And so I finished this build, and so like a day and a half later, I go back to Arrow's website, and of course, they're gone. So I don't know. At some point, I really want to build a flat dark earth gun. It's so hard right now. Like, they had a lot of flat dark earth on Blim, but you try to find a rail that matches anywhere.
Oh, no. And well, everybody's FD is a little different anyways.
Well, no, I was only looking for Arrow, so that was probably close enough. I mean, different batches will be different too. But I figure if I went with Arrow, it'd be close enough, maybe. Knock on wood. But cannot find it. Even in the AR-15, not just 308, but you cannot find the handguards in FDE. They're just unobtainium right now.
Weird. I think I'm going to keep my powder dry because I have a really good feeling on some authority that a lot of companies are going to just blow stuff out at Black Friday, which seems a little far away now, but it's really only October, 3 months.
That'll be here soon, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some gargantuan gun sales.
I think we're going to see really good deals on ammo Black Friday too. Finally, I think we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, cool. You're doing more gun stuff than car stuff now. That's quite the change.
It's so weird. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of, I need to be more thankful because I can go right out back here and shoot.
That's nice.
And stuff. And I really need to work on the range and get some more plates. And I really need to take the time to enjoy some of this stuff because I just work so much all the time. And I'm always telling myself I'm too busy. I can't do that. Got to do this. And I've really got to take some time out and do some stuff that is fun and try, make the gun stuff. I'm starting to have fun with gun stuff again after being burned out for so many years because it just, crapped up my hobby doing all the FRN stuff. And I'm finally kind of out of that funk, I think. So
well, I'll have to get a new job to do that. But yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. And well, my problem is it's like there's always the next tier up, and then you get so far up these tiers, and you realize like how much money you have in every gun. Oof, it's depressing.
Well, yeah, I like finding like the happy, crappy, I don't know, mediocre point and not going to those high tiers.
Well, yeah, you bought red anodized parts. We hear you loud and clear.
And they were on clearance at Primary Arms.
Yeah, you wonder why they're on clearance because nobody wants them.
Well, it's great because I want them.
Well, good for you. See, all you got to do is make yourself happy. That's all.
Well, and like looking at some of these sites, like you can buy these complete kits with buffer tubes and triggers and everything. You can get like purple anodized, green anodized. And it's like the I don't know. It's more like it looks like it's spray painted. It's not even like nice anodizing. It's just it's really funny. It's really bad. But I think I want to build something really gaudy now, like worse than the red.
You're going to build like a gun version of that one. Remember those Volkswagens they built that were like multiple colors, like every panel was a different color and everything, purples and yellows and all that? You're going to build a gun like that.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Well, good. Maybe you'll have some content for the next show then.
Yep. All right. Well, hopefully you see that Suburban you can't afford now.
No. I'm only looking in the dark stuff now. I'm just looking at night stuff.
Right. All right. Well, I guess that about wraps us up. Check out Patriot Patch Co. Like I said, awesome cleaning mats there. Air 15 schematic cleaning mats that I work on every day but don't look at. We have some awesome new signs for your man cave. We have 2 Statue of Liberty signs. We have a Wolverine sign. We have a new gun safety sign. We have 2 different gun safety signs now, so check those out, patriotpatch.co. And if you need website design, artwork design, check out Ryan Cross at Hunter of Design. He can help you out there. You can reach us at gunguyradio@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.